Hello, my name's Olivia and welcome back to my channel, Endless Pages. Today's video is an exciting one. It is my June wrap-up video. So this month I read 6 books and one of them was a reread, so I'm super happy with that. My goal was 5 books, so I'm so happy that I was able to get through it, and I had an awesome reading month as well. I've got some great books to talk about here today. The first book I finished off right at the start of the month, and that is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. This is a young adult historical fiction set in Paris in the 1800s, which is a really cool setting. I wanted to read this book because people were saying if you're a fan of Six of Crows, this is the book for you. It's really similar, like found family, heist kind of story. I didn't think like the heist was actually that big of a part of the book. I think I enjoyed the book and it was fun and I enjoyed the ending, and I can see where the story's going, but it was a little bit slow, so I struggled to get into it, I think, at first. Like, I really do love the diversity of the characters. They're all really well thought out characters, just like the Six of Crows, and I think it's very character based rather than plot based in this book. You kind of follow Severin, who is this hotel owner, and he's kind of a thief on the side, and he gets given this task by this mysterious group called the Order of the Babel, and they task him with this heist, and where the reward will be his true inheritance. I do like the magic system in this book and the world building. I think it's a really creative and cool world, and I love the magic in it, but it's just, yeah, it took me a while to get into it. It's a bit of a slow burn, but I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, which was kind of disappointing, but I did buy the sequel. I am going to continue on with the series because it was a fun read and the heist was cool, and there's a bit of a plot in the catacombs, which is also really creative and cool. But yeah, I think it's more character based and plot based. It's not super fast paced. It more gets up towards the end. It gets a bit darker and more interesting at the end, I think. So yeah, it's a good book. 4 stars. You just have to stick to it, I think, and push through the first bits. But super creative, cool magic system, and I will be reading the sequel. The second book I read is The Project by Courtney Summers. This is a young adult thriller. You may recognise the author. She's also the author of the book Sadie, which is an amazing book. I'm going to try and explain this. It's a lot to explain, so I'm going to try and do it as simply as I can. So there's 2 sisters, Lo and Beau, and one day Beau and her parents are in a car crash. The parents die and Beau is barely clinging on to life in the ICU. And Lo, the older sister, is at a low point in her life, desperate for her sister to wake up, and she goes into the little church in the hospital and is praying, and this guy called, I can't remember his name, what's his name? Lev, that's right, Lev approaches her and says he's part of this group called The Project, and they claim that they can save Bee's life. So Bee wakes up from the coma with no idea of where Lo has gone to, and years later we jump, and Bee is a journalist, and she gets approached by this guy who claims that the project, which her sister Lo joined, killed his son. So it's a thriller about Bee investigating the project and trying to reconnect with her sister. So this is really like a really mind twisty bendy book. I was reading Goodreads reviews of it after I finished, and I saw one say that this is a bit more adult, they thought, and I would kind of agree with them. I think it should be a bit more new adult or adult because it's very, very heavy themes for young adult. Just some trigger warnings: there's suicide, there's like domestic abuse, there's like domestic manipulation. Yeah, like it's I don't know how to describe it. It really like messes with your head as you're reading it. You know, you read it and think the project is a cult and it's doing the wrong thing and it's, you know, manipulating its members into following. But as you read the book, it starts to kind of mess with your head and make you doubt, like as a reader, make you doubt what you thought you know about this group called The Project, and it makes you think, are they actually a cult? So it really started to actually like mess with my head as I was reading it, which I guess is a sign that it's a really good thriller and was starting to get to me. It was really twisty and it was a really dark read. It was really mind-bendy, and it was some really amazing characters. So I really thoroughly enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. It messed with me, but that's what you want a thriller to do, I guess. I don't think I'd recommend it to younger readers. I kind of agree that it should be young adult, but it was a fantastic, thrilling book that kept me on the edge of my seat right up until the end. Made me doubt everything I thought about the characters. I kind of felt that I was like getting brainwashed a bit as I was reading it, but that was really fun to read, and I highly recommend this book. Courtney Summers, both of her books that I read are amazing, so I think she's a fantastic author, and she really hit the nail on the head with this one. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the third book I read was the sequel to Of Blood and Ash, and that is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is I want to make it clear, a new adult, not a young adult book. And the first book is kind of about this girl, Poppy, and she is the maiden, which means she has been chosen by the gods. I will try and explain the plot, but it's super confusing, even as you read it and learn more about the backstories of the country. It's really hard to follow. It's just it's a good romance read. I enjoy it for the romance. There's an enemies to lovers romance, so I mean that's why I'm reading it. And this is the continuation of the end of the first book and kind of the aftermath of the shock ending and a bit of a betrayal in the last book. Again, Gilded Bulls, it was a bit of a slow burn, but I think you read more for the romance than the actual plot of this book. It does speed up a bit at the end. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good romance, spicy read. So yeah, it was really enjoyable. It's so long though. I can't wait to read the third book, which I have ordered, so hopefully that'll arrive soon. Yeah, not much to say about this book. 5 stars, nice and spicy, cool, strong female characters, amazing lovers, enemies to lovers, romance. And yeah, it's a fun read, and I would recommend it to any adults. And then I read Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is a sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is a young adult fiction book. It's set after the first book, and Pip in the first book investigates a murder, and in this book, even though she promised she wouldn't investigate again and she would focus on her school, her family, and wouldn't get obsessed like she did in the last book, one of her best friend's older brother goes missing, and she feels obligated, because the police aren't doing anything about it, to find out and hopefully find alive her best friend's brother. So she gets drawn in and obsessed again and brought back into the danger of her town, and again investigating the townspeople and the secrets that they are keeping from her. Super fast paced, very twisty. There's new information that, changes the suspects on every page. It's cool because she's recording a podcast, so some of the pages, if I can find it, you are listening along to the podcast, which is pretty cool, on this page. So you're kind of reading the transcript of the podcast, and some of the chapters are her notes as she's investigating, so you feel like you are going along with the investigation. Really creative. I read this in one day. I'd recommend it to everyone who loves whodunit and super fast-paced, easy reads. I rated this one 5 star. I am now a huge fan of Holly Jackson, and I cannot wait for the end of this trilogy. So 5 star read. And then the 5th book I read is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read it on my Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy, and that is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I literally don't know how to describe my thoughts around this book. I've been thinking about it and I still don't know what to say about it. I was kind of shocked I loved it as much as I did. I didn't know it was a lesbian romance either, which was a nice surprise. So it's about this woman called Evelyn Hugo, who back in the 50s to the 80s was this super famous, super gorgeous, glamorous movie star. And she asked this kind of up-and-coming journalist to interview her, and she hasn't really given any interviews in her life about anything really, or revealed any of her secrets. So this journalist is asked to write her biography of her life. And Evelyn is really famous because she has had 7 husbands in her life. So you follow kind of in chronological order as she talks about her life and her career, and that is all connected to her 7 husbands. I think it's a really inspiring book. Evelyn is such a kind of like a morally grey character. You know that she makes you aware that she knows her beauty, and she knows that the opportunities that she has used that to help her career, but at the same time you watch her struggle to come to terms with the fact that she can't be herself, and that kind of her whole life she has been lying and spending her whole time just making sure that the public viewed her in a certain way, and the ways that her husbands have impacted and shaped her identity and who she is. She's such a strong, inspirational character to read from. She is a strong woman who knew what she wanted, and even though you sometimes question the decisions she's made and the choices she's made, she knows that she would do that all again for her career and to help herself, even though sometimes you find yourself a bit frustrated by her decisions. She's honestly, like, it was such a surprising read, such a sad, beautiful read as you watch Evelyn make her way up. You read for her ups and her downs, and watch how she balances that with what's really going on in her life and what she's making the public appear to think is going on. And I think, yeah, it's a beautiful story about her accepting what she's done, not having regrets, but, you know, being okay with what she's done to make a life for herself and her family, and come to terms with the mistakes she's made and how she's had to hide who she really was to have a career. And it's a beautiful story of identity and love and family. And I bawled my eyes out in the last couple of chapters. It's a beautiful, beautiful story about romance and glamour. I love it. It's really sad. It has so much more deeper layers than I thought it was going to have. I gave it 5 stars and I absolutely loved it. I just bought her new book, Malibu Rising, and I think she's going to be a new favourite author of mine. Absolutely stunning book. Highly recommend. 5 stars. Everyone must go read it right now. The final book I read was a reread, and that is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is a classic book. It's about a girl called Mary who is orphaned when her parents die, and she goes to live with her uncle in this big lonely mansion. And she makes friends with a boy called Dixon, who's just a boy that lives in town, and her cousin Colin, who is very sick and throws a lot of tantrums and doesn't really leave his bedroom. And the 3 of them discover a secret garden that has been locked up for 10 years, and they work together to bring the garden back to life. It's a beautiful story about friendship and the power of creativity, and how friendship can make us grow stronger and happier and improve our mood. It's just a wholesome, beautiful read. It's so creative. I loved it. I'm so glad I reread it. It brought me so much joy reading it. It's a beautiful book, and yeah, I'm glad that I still have it with me. Yeah, I love this book, and I was really happy I reread it. It's beautiful, so sweet. So yeah, that is all the books I read this month. No bad books, which was amazing. Mainly 4 and 5 star reads. So yeah, that is what I read this month. The 5 books and then the 1 reread. Literally 4 and 5 star reads this month. I didn't read a bad book, so awesome reading month. It's put me in a good spot for next month. Got me nice and motivated to read some more good books. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books, or if you just want to chat about what you read this month. I will be posting my TBR for July very soon. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye!